Oh, there's from Farming Secrets, and
I'm Hugo Disler from Farming Secrets.
And we have the pleasure of welcoming Gerhard Grasser. Welcome, Gerhard.
Hello, thank you.
And fantastic seeing everyone here today. The way the webinar will go, we've got a PowerPoint presentation with lots of videos of farmers who are using stock supplements, so you can get a real taste of the value that stock supplementation returns. And then we will have a question and answer time, and then which you can put your things in the chat while things are going. We won't be stopping from the presentation. And then after a chat, depending on how long everything is, we've got a really fantastic offer for you, which we usually offer something, but this one's a pretty special one. So stay online for the end to see that. But without further ado, we will start. But just give a wave if you've got your computer on. Say hi. Please start.
Press record.
No, the record's on, but I don't know why. This isn't opening. Here we are. I've had trouble with my computer and I've had to change it to a laptop, so I've got a few little hiccups today. But Gerhard, can we just invite you to very quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, just hang on a sec, I'll put me back on. Thank you for the invitation to participate in this event today. My background is that I actually run a little farm up here in the hills in South Gippsland in Victoria, for those of you who are outside the state of Australia. And I have been involved with soil health, regenerative farming processor and the organic industry since the 1980s, hands-on growing as well as running a farm and having my son run this farm that I'm at the moment. So there's an extensive, a lot of experience that I like sharing with people to see whether we can help improve the growing systems that we're currently all struggling with and sometimes dealing with in a very anxious way. So yeah, there's probably not much more to be said apart from that there's a long-standing association with Helen and Hugo that goes back in the days of using kelp and fish as the primary inputs into farming, and we've found that they generally come up trumps and allow for a more even farming enterprise to be profitable as well. But yeah, sorry, I can prattle on, but let's get to the nitty gritty here, and we'll see whether we can open up the discussion with the participants today.
It's a very important topic, and for a few cents a day, you can have very healthy stock. I don't think anyone's got every mineral in their soil, so it's a very good idea to have a standby. But just a little bit about Pat Colby, who started this whole thing about mineral supplementation. She says, Elbrecht said, feed the soil, not the plant. The next stage is, if the plant is fully healthy, the stock living off that pasture will be the same and will need very little, if anything, extra to maintain full health. However, as we all know, soils they're in balance, so your stock also need access to a full range. So without further ado, I'm going to play now. My computer's a bit slow with starting these up, but we're going to have a series of videos.
When you agree that your stock need minerals, and you can find that out by the way that they perform in the vat, or the way that their health is, and how they're responding to the different seasons as well. One of the difficulties to get your mind around is trying to administer the minerals to the stock in the most simplest form. Too often we feel that we need to put in a measured amount of a mineral or of a vitamin into their ration, but then we don't really know what the stock need year round, the time of lactation, the season type, the production expectations and what feed they've got out in the paddock all determine what their mineral requirements are supplementary to their normal feed intake. So one of the best ways that we've found that works for us here is to actually have a free choice system made up. And it's a very basic system that Jordan put a roof across there, just mounted on the railings. And underneath that roof is at the moment 3 troughs. One's managed to be ripped off by the cows. I think they were that keen to get into the seaweed meal that's in there. It's a free choice system that works really well. We put a range of different minerals in there. And to start with, what we used, there was a soil test to determine just what minerals were lacking in the soil. And that was a guide for us to then say, okay, we need to put a bit of copper sulfate out there or a bit of sulfur. At the moment, there's a rock salt lick, Himalayan rock salt that we have. And then there's some dolomite in there next to that, or part of that bin. That's the first bin. The second bin and the next bin over have both currently got seaweed meal in there. We have had times where the animals are scratching a little bit, the cows are scratching. You have to check them out and find they've got lice, so a bit of sulfur can be added there and they'll take the sulfur powder neat as well. Linseed meal can be used, apple cider vinegar, cod liver oil. A whole range of different ingredients can be used, and the cod liver oil is particularly useful during the middle of winter when they can't synthesize the vitamin D, and so the cows can actually come along, and you'll find that they will, by free choice, select the cod liver oil when you've got cloudy days. So it's amazing. They know when they need it, and they'll come and collect it. Ever tried drinking cod liver oil? I think when you agree that your stock need minerals, and you can find that out by the way that they perform in the vat, or the way that their health is, and how they're responding to the different seasons as well. One of the difficulties to come.
Jack Colby said that you should have dolomite out if you've got copper as well. What do you think about that?
Oh, you need to have that magnesium component in there as well to help. Yeah,
available.
But it's about having all those available to them at any one time. Yeah, definitely. So don't just put the copper out on its own. Make sure they've got the sulfur and the dolomite as per Pat's recipe.
Jack Colby said that you should have dolomite out if you've got copper as well. What do you think about that? I'm so sorry, I forgot to share my screen.
Oh, well, I think the message is clear about in the audio. The video would just help with setting up the construct of the feeder.
So, just to quickly go back, we had a list of suggested stock supplements here. I'm really sorry about this, which you'll get access to later, but there's a range of things, as you'll
Helen,
find.
excuse me, can you maximize that screen so that we can actually see what's on it?
I can't.
You can't?
I'm sorry. No, what we tried to, but anyway, no, I can't. I'm sorry. So we'll just keep going. There will be a link at the end, so I apologise about that.
So people can actually get access to that information later on. Okay. What are the main ingredients there? Are they listed in any particular order?
No, not in priority. No, they're not. So can we just keep going now, please, Gerhard, and see what falls out of what we've got here, and we will. That will come up later.
Did you want to respond to any of the questions? There was a question that was talking.
No, we're doing it.
I think a lot of the questions will get answered as we go through the videos.
What we're going to do, just to be clear, we're going to go through this presentation, which there are a number of little videos which should answer a lot of questions. Then we will have questions.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's a better idea to just keep going. So Gerhard, we then, you were talking, this is the setup Gerhard was talking about. And then we have Gerhard talking about the importance that dolomite should always be available if copper is offered. And this is where I've got trouble because my computer is really slow today. So just bear with me. Jack Colby said that you should have dolomite out if you've got copper as well. What do you think about that?
Oh, you need to have the magnesium component in there as well to help. Yeah, but it's about having all those available to them at any one time. Yeah, definitely. So don't just put the copper out on its own. Make sure they've got the sulfur and the dolomite as per Pat's recipe. And ideally, use Pat's recipe, but keep the ingredients separate if you possibly can. Have several different containers and put each of the separate ingredients in each container.
This is Neil Prentice, who started off after reading Pat's books actually on stock supplementation, natural farming, and he's set up these bins which he can move around. But just bear with us, there we are.
Yeah, Neil, you've got this wonderful thing that you've created yourself, which I'm very, very impressed with. You might explain what you're trying to, what are you doing here, and the effect it's had on your animals. And basically, it was to save. Initially, it was to save using chemicals as drenches. That was the general idea, and to increase their health. I guess I got the original idea from a Pat Colby article I read quite a few years ago, and that's what I started off with, just the Pat Colby mix, they call it now, I think, which was mainly dolomite, seaweed meal, copper, sulfur. I think that was about it. But anyway, I've got a variety of things in there now, and including the Pat Colby mix, which is still there, although I did increase the seaweed meal. The only problem I've had is getting them to take up enough copper. They won't, or they haven't, touched the copper itself on its own.
They haven't touched it at all?
Not that I know of.
Right.
I can usually tell when they've been at them.
Still staying with Neil.
Blocks. Yeah. The commercial ones, I don't reckon they did much. I tried them. Tried them before I started using the Pat Colby mix, and I used them for, at a guess, I'd say 3, 4, 5 years maybe. The main reason I ate them was because of the percentage of molasses and salt. The salt blocks went a lot certain times of the year. But I don't think it made much difference to animal performance, really. And they're very expensive. Very expensive. This setup's cheap.
Now we're going on to Andy Ibbott, who has a dairy farm.
Finley.
With the free choice minerals and also that magnesium chloride being put in the water, that, like I said before at lunchtime, the calving down last autumn, so 12 months ago, it was just virtually every cow over 3-year-old had milk fever. Right. And we lost 14 cows that calving season. And at this stage, since the cows that have actually had all that stuff, they haven't had milk fever at all yet. We had one there calved 2 days ago, and we've kept her in the pen each night just to keep an eye on her, and yeah, she's fine.
Good.
So,
and she's been prone or susceptible.
She has nearly died a couple of times. That one cow. Yeah, so we thought we better keep an eye on her.
And she didn't need any extra support.
No, we haven't had to treat her with any milk fever injections or orally or anything like that. Just the minerals and that free choice minerals and the ones we put in the water trough there. So
speaks for itself.
Yeah. I mean, last year's calving did cost us a lot of money and a lot of work.
So free choice would cost you next to nothing in comparison, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah. I'm not sure what you'd be spending. I haven't really worked it out exactly, but yeah, it's only a matter of cents a cow, really.
Yeah.
Because surprisingly, they're not eating a lot of the minerals. You look at them, they're only just a little tiny bit on their nose, and that's it.
Yep.
Probably the biggest thing I've seen with them is haven't had any problems with flies this year.
Amazing.
Especially the little small biting flies. Usually during the summer period, there's be a period of maybe even 4 weeks of it that it's hard to milk cows because they're always kicking.
Right.
So just the flies are in there biting them all the time. But with the minerals there, we even pink eye from fly bite, virtually non-existent. We have had I think this whole summer period we've had 2 cows at the milking herd that we've had to treat.
They're considerably less than what the years.
Yeah, definitely. Up until date, conventionally with penicillin and so forth, but
Oh no. Oh, no.
up until date, conventionally with penicillin and so forth, but I've just got hold of materials to start treating them.
Homeopathically.
Yeah, in a homeopathic fashion. Yeah.
Right.
I'm about to get onto Jean Belstead to do that, but I've already made up some colloidal silver and got garlic extract to do that.
Yes.
So, and the other one that I'll be treating them or trying with is your last walk the talk, where they said actually milk that infected quarter out and actually drench the cow with it.
Right.
Feed it back into boost their immune system.
Yes.
To, spike their immune system.
That works very quickly, I believe. Well, Ron Smith's found it works very quickly. And also he finds that he has no, he doesn't have to hold his milk back.
Yeah.
So he can be milking next day or so.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm hoping very soon that we can do away with all those antibiotics and stuff out there. I'm
sure we can.
Fridge very, very shortly. But yeah, like so next cow I'll get with mastitis, whatever. There's actually some cows, what we do is to control our somatic cell count in our milk, is anyone with a high somatic cell count, we milk them separate, they don't go on the vat. And we have a couple of cows that are they carve in with a high cell count. They don't have clinical mastitis.
Yes.
But they have a very high cell count, like I'm talking in the millions.
Right.
And that's right through their lactation. So I'm going to definitely try them with this method too.
Rather than culling them.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're still fine cows. Yeah.
So you're just coming across numerous benefits, aren't you?
Sorry?
You're coming across numerous benefits of doing alternative, well, you wouldn't even call them alternative things, just doing practical things to reduce your costs and maintain health of the animals, if not actually improve the health of the animals.
Well, it was like, Ron Smith was saying in last walk to talk, to actually boost the animal, not try and kill out the bad organisms or bacteria or whatever is in it, is actually to boost the health of the cow, to fight them. Yeah, because it's happened before, especially in the calves. A calf's got sick from scours or whatever it may be, and you've treated her with antibiotics, and then she gets better. As soon as you stop treating her, she gets sick again.
Right.
Because the immune system has been wiped out as well. So, yeah.
So this is more from Andy because he found so many benefits.
The dry stock, that was one very noticeable thing, that they ate a lot less forage feed.
So can you repeat that again? What happened then?
with our dry cattle, when I started them on the minerals, on
Yes.
the free choice minerals,
Yes.
their consumption of forage feeds, the paddock feed, reduced by at least 25%.
Yeah.
Probably I'd say closer to 30%. Yeah.
That's a significant saving in feed, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And you didn't see the dry cattle sort of really run around trying to find feed. They sort of just they're
satisfied.
Wandered around and picked here and there.
Yeah.
And they were okay.
So obviously their digestive system worked better, so they could utilise the food they did eat.
Yeah.
So they ate less food. Would that be right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yep. But their bodies weren't craving the different minerals or so forth, so they didn't have to try and eat extra something to try and get enough of that one mineral.
I get you.
And passing a heap through.
Yeah. So it's another win for you as far as and using less energy on the farm, and it's another win for the cattle because they're in better condition with less food and making them more robust.
Yeah, that's for sure, definitely. Yep.
It's wins all round.
Yeah.
So now we're going on to Peter Armstrong. Gerhard used to supply him with help and things, didn't you?
Just going back to this free choice equipment that you've got here, that salad bar, that's designed to allow the cows to have a bit of a graze before they go back out into the paddock or when they come back in.
Well, that's the night one there, and they can graze there after they've finished eating on the feed pad.
Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing.
So just going back to this free choice equipment that you've got here, that salad bar, that's designed to allow the cows to have a bit of a graze before they go back out into the paddock or when they come back in.
Well, that's the night one there, and they can graze there after they've finished eating on the feed pad, or while they're waiting to eat on the feed pad. They can come back during the night, and obviously, and the same thing in the mornings. They can have the food there. And the other one is the trailable one, as I said, can take down to the paddock. So I'm thinking, sometimes it's not quite so necessary because you know that they're not taking up the minerals and whatever. So it's maybe not such a critical thing to have the day one.
Yep.
But if you're, if you've got issues, they'll certainly tell you the amount of elements they take.
Now we're now going to go over to another dairy farmer, the Wallaces, who have a pretty elaborate setup here.
Yeah, you might talk about these supplements here. Oh, well, I guess the question really needs to be asked of Peter and Wendy, what they've found with the supplements and how they've transitioned through to get into the free choice system that's obviously working. And that's what I remember when they first set it up. It's very, as you say, very elaborate. There's a huge range of containers there, but obviously there's a bit of duplication.
A lot of repetitive.
Yeah.
So before we were certified, we used to have the mineral feed truck come in every other week. And it drove me mad. I hated paying its bills.
Yeah.
I didn't see the sense in feeding minerals to cattle that didn't need them.
And that was being put through the bale?
Yeah. That was mixed in with the grain. So, so we decided when we were going organic, we'd seen a couple of guys with very small setups or whatever that just had one or two things, and we thought, well, if we could offer a range, usually cows will self-medicate out in the paddock with herbage and whatnot. So we were hoping that they would do the same here, and they seem to do that. So we repeat on both sides. When you have 160 cows filing past, they need to be able to push and shove and get in and get what they want. So giving more than one choice certainly helps that. So the main thing we do have is salt, and we have another little shed over behind which also has salt in it. The cattle just need their uptake in salt.
Especially the ones with high salt counts or starte, so they really go for the salt.
Yep, they use extra salt.
You can sort of pick up which cow you need to test their milk on by what they're going for. So yeah, so you can
That's
pick
a
up on that.
fantastic observation.
Yeah.
And also, when we've had the manure gator on paddocks, they're usually higher in potassium, so they balance themselves out with the salt. So you tend to know when sorry, the dogs have got a mouse in a tyre over there, and they're flipping the tyre over to try and get the mouse out. They've been at it all day. But yeah, you know, when the cows come in from where they are today, quite a few will come and have a dip at the salt because they're on high potassium paddocks, because that's where a lot of the manure goes out.
Yeah.
So, but to go around, we have apple cider, usually just watered down, because cows just,
apple cider vinegar.
Yep, apple cider vinegar.
Yep.
Cows just love it, so they'll drink it as long as it's there. It's not always there. Straight salt, and then we have kelp, which we tend to temper down a little bit with dolomite.
Yep.
Sometimes of the year cows don't touch the kelp at all, but other times, especially at the minute when there's not a lot of mineral out in the grass, they go berserk.
Yep.
So you've got to temper it down a bit.
You do, don't you?
Well, some of the cows are just bossy pigs and don't like anyone else having it. They don't actually need it, and you can smell it in their manure. They've eaten so much just to keep the other cows out. And you can pick them because you know the bossy cows. You always know your own bossy herd. And it'll be just to keep the other cows out.
So this manure then would be very valuable as a adjunct in the paddock again.
Definitely.
Too, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It all gets kept,
composting,
stockpiled, and then composted and put out. But yeah, and then you go around and we have zinc sulfate, which is mixed with a salt mix. So it's a 10-to-1 salt mix. Okay. So as they can't get too much. And same with the copper sulfate. It's a 10-to-1 mix with salt as well. Don't tend to ever see them go for it unless they need it. They'll always just go to the straight salt. Yep. So it's not like for them. It's not like, oh, we want salt, so that'll do. They don't tend to touch it unless they need to, which you'll see a cow that's off colour or whatnot, or a cell count cow again, or a foot cow. We'll go and look at those two. We have straight sulphur. Very, very rarely gets touched, if ever.
But it might now. We've been talking before about flies.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be interesting because I've only just popped it up today.
Yeah. Probably haven't had any fresh stuff in there for a while, actually.
No, that'd be interesting.
But it's something they don't normally touch.
So do you monitor every day as well when you go through?
Oh, just whoever's getting the cow.
Yeah.
The cows usually
yeah.
usually looks at, who's doing what. So straight cod liver oil, which this time of year when there's no green grass in the paddocks, and the middle of winter when there's no sunlight.
They start to hammer that as well then. Yeah,
to a certain degree.
How do they consume that? Do they have a bit of a lick at it or drink it or what?
Yeah, just shove their nose in
How
it.
they do, but they do.
You haven't got grandma out there with a spoon giving it to them, have you?
Terrible, but they tend to go for it. So.
But once again, it'll go for months without being touched. And
then they just start hammering it.
Yeah.
And are there times of the year that you actually notice? Like, could you predict when they're likely to go for certain minerals now as well?
Not so much minerals. That's usually just a little health issue. But your cod liver oil are your times of the year when you've got constant cloud cover for like a week.
Yep.
You haven't got that sunlight factor through your AD&E, and this time of the year when there's not a lot of green grass or very little green grass.
And they also hammer the kelp pretty much at this time of the year too, and there's a transition period.
Not too bad, have they? No.
So they've still got a bit of green tick out in the paddock at the moment?
Yeah, they've got a bit.
Yeah, they've got silage in their cereal hay at the minute they're getting every day. So obviously it's got enough minerals. Like the kelp is just a broad spectrum mineral. So it just covers most things except copper, which is why we had that separate.
Copper and the salt together.
So we had the copper separate because that doesn't come in the kelp. But we had the zinc separate just because there's a few little issues with cell count, fertility, and that if cows lacking in zinc, you want them to be able to have it.
Yep.
So, and otherwise,
dolomite.
There's dolomite, and there's usually a bicarb, just in case. They feed grain,
Yeah,
you always have a bicarb
by
just in
there
case.
just
But,
in case,
yeah.
yeah.
but I don't think it's ever been touched. So yeah, it's those things are basically all on this side and then repeated on the other side, just so there's enough room for cows to get in and out. So.
And how do you manage the dry cows and calves? Do they have access to this bar as well, or do you have a separate arrangement for them?
The dry cows get gotten about a little bit.
Yeah.
They're over the back paddock, so we don't do anything.
Well, they're probably on the greenest grass on the farm at the moment.
Yeah, so
Right.
they
So
don't-
they're being looked after in the paddock direct then.
Yeah, they come home 2 weeks before they calve, and they'll have access to this every day for those 2 weeks before they calve,
Right.
as well as having their own salt in their paddock
and apple cider
and
vinegar
apple cider
in
vinegar in their water trough. But and the calves, when the boys are being good, have their minerals kept up to them.
Occasionally they don't.
Yeah.
But they normally have salt and kelp are their main two.
And obviously they're the ones that really need a lot too, don't they, the calves, and in their growing phase that they can.
After 12 months.
Mhm.
After 12 months, they seem to be right with most things.
Yeah.
But under 12 months, you'll get that lack of copper stage, and just a general I'm growing too quick, pick me up sort of thing.
Yep.
So
like our teenagers when
no, it doesn't just come home and read the cupboard because they're growing that quick. They've got to eat 24/7.
Yeah.
So
And anything's a likely candidate, isn't
that's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. I'll eat it.
Sorry about this.
Yeah, to my
Well, for the cows, humans click their head on the middle rafter quite often.
That's only tall people, so they
Yeah.
need nothing down.
Sure, I hit my head on it every time I go in there. So that was probably was just what we had around. These were the height posts we had and all the rest. So it was just whatever we had, we did it with. And
So when you do a milking, like a batch come through, how many cows would come in here at a time to sort of
well, it depends. If it's 35 degrees, as many as you can pack in because it's shade.
Shade, yeah.
If it's hailing, same thing.
Yep.
But generally, I suppose when I bring the cows around tonight, there'll probably be half a dozen to 10. We'll have a little bit of a wander in and check it out.
And then they'll have the chance again when they go out.
Yeah, they'll come back up this way as well.
Oh, so they actually get 2 dibs at it
Yep.
before milking and then after
After
milking.
milking, yep.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I might talk about these supplements here.
Supplements and how they've transitioned through to get into the free choice system. That's obvious.
We'll just have a little view of the cows actually coming into this free choice feeder.
So a lot of them have actually bypassed the breakfast bar at the moment, obviously because it must be afternoon and they're keen to get in there and get milk.
There's only probably half a dozen to 10 at any one time looking at it.
And coming back out, you'll get a number similar will come through and do the same.
Yeah, there's not, the whole herd doesn't barge in there or anything. It's just 1 or 2. The girl with the cross has got a high cell count. So you would expect to see her in there having a little lick at whatever she wants.
They're certainly not pushing each other out of the way, are they?
No. You
Very
got
polite.
514, she'll
Not like
just shove all
teenage
these
kids
out.
sometimes.
You get your bossy 514, she's just going in there now to give a bit of a shove. She's a bossy girl. She'll just shove them out. And they'll be waiting here later. These gates will be shut and they'll be waiting here later. So, so they'll come back later and get what they want. So, but you've just had a couple of cows that have walked up from down there. They've gone down and come back.
Oh, got the bricky bar.
Yep. Forgot me a lick of salt. I'll just duck back for that. So, and that's one of the things too, like a lot of the times when the guys get the cows and that too, they just want to get them to the shed and get them milked. So you rush them a bit past and, they don't sort of always get to stop and have as much of a go at it as they should. But whereas at the minute, because they're going this way, they sort of have to be pushed to get them across the road and all the rest. It's not at leisure. Whereas if they were going up this way or the other way, it would be at their leisure. So they would just call in or stand back and wait for the bossy ones to finish before they had to go or whatever. But at the minute, because of the way that they are going, time is more of an essence because you can't have people down at the road crossing cows for half an hour. So social order, oh yes. You've heard of chickens and their pecking order. Well, cows have a very big pecking order.
So a lot of them have actually bypassed the breakfast bar at the moment, obviously because of
So that's the end of the videos, and we'll show you some stock lick feeders, but maybe we'll go to questions now and just see what has come in while you've been watching this. So Bella, are there any questions? I'm just going to get back on to so here's the question: is magnesium from dolomite still essential when your base saturation is 48%?
Well, Gerhard, do you want to answer that, or will I answer that?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that. It's a very good question, and one would think that having such a high base saturation, in fact, the calcium magnesium ratio is also very important to try and get a feel for where that's at. But I can't imagine it'd be very good. But just because it's sitting there in the soil colloidal system, like in the cations, doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually available to the plant. So I would still have a tendency to be putting the dolomite out there. And it mightn't be a lot, it might only be a small tub of it, but just keep it on offer and just monitor whether it's still being taken or not. There's over the years, I've seen some surprising results where you sort of think, oh yeah, you know, that's already in the soil. And one example that I've found is that generally speaking, the sodium, for some reason, when you come up with a base saturation that's high and the total sodium values are high, that then they don't go for the salt quite as much. So that's on the flip side. In other words, generally you find that if the sodium measures up, then they won't take the salt, but it doesn't always hold true. There's always that surprise there. And I guess the message from Peter and Wendy Wallace is that they've always got a few ingredients available. Bicarb is one of them, salt is the other, and of course the dolomite as well. So my answer to that is, yep, I'd be putting the dolomite out there in front of them as well and monitoring what they take. And a very simple method of monitoring what they take is just smooth the surface of the tub that you're offering it in, smooth it over, and then just with your finger put a cross in there, and you'll see whether they've actually taken any or not, and estimate how much they might have taken as well over time. Over to you, Hugo, if you wanted to add to that. Or
I think the key point there is that where you sell stock supplements of all different types in blocks, etc., in the farm supply store, but this system is such that, as you said, and I just want to repeat it, Gerhard, that you're giving the animal a choice, and the animal tells you, and the question gets answered by the animal.
Yep, definitely.
All right, let's go on to the next question. And this says you to you because Bella, who's supporting me, is sending the questions through. If you want to unmute to ask after your question's been answered, just call in. And thanks, Craig, for that. Someone's asking about biochar. feeding cattle. Has anyone used biochar?
I could answer that.
I've noticed cattle do extremely well after being let into a burnt paddock. By adding biochar to their free feed ration, it makes sense that it'd work the same way.
Can I do a little talk on that?
Yeah.
In our field days back in the early 90s, we'd ask farmers would talk to us about the different things they put in. And one of the extraordinary things was this farmer from the dairy industry around Shepparton. He would go with his ute up to the red gum country on the Murray and get a charcoal from where they burnt the red gum charcoal, and he'd give that to his sheep, and he found that that was a very good thing. So if they'd eat biochar, they'd eat charcoal, and sometimes, as one farmer said, in the Western District of Victoria, that they particularly like the yellow box charcoal, not the other charcoals. And so it's a case of trying different things for your animals. And so biochar, certainly, if you have it in the bin, you've got nothing to lose, because animals will tell you whether they want it or not.
Okay, thanks, Hugo.
Yeah, can I add to that as well? Okay, the biochar is good, but what's interesting is when you look around the paddocks, quite often you'll see areas where they've been licking the soil. And I've also had an instance where we're working with a farmer getting set up to do on-farm composting of his bedding material and his effluent and spoiled hay and so on, that he's then made into a compost. And what's fascinating is that the animals would actually select what they want when they want it. And even in the open field that was there was a lot of calves that were running around in that paddock, and with just a single wire, hot wire, to try and keep them off. But they managed to get onto that compost pile, and did they lick away on that compost as well? So I think it's about making sure that we understand that they're not just looking for nutrients, and the biochar would provide that in the form of the carbons and the humic acids that would form from that, but that the microbiology is a key part of it as well. And that's why we're getting a lot of these probiotics and so on that are being offered on the marketplace. But the natural ones, like a compost, just makes a lot of sense to have that available to them as well, and areas where they will lick the soil because of certain minerals and probably because of some biology that's there as well. So remember, it's a big fermentation vat that we're dealing with ruminants, and they need every bit of support that they can get with the microbes that are actually on the plant material that they're ingesting. So
okay, thanks, Gerhard. It is a big complex issue, which I realised when we were preparing this webinar, and I thought we should have about 10 of them, I think. So BM, wherever you are, 3 questions. Are the minerals fed up during calving only or year round? Is that a yes or no, boys?
All year.
Yeah, definitely all year.
Okay.
But that's not always practical. So sometimes you need to do what Peter and Wendy have done, that said that they do, and that is 2 weeks before calving, they actually allow them access. You know, it's really important that we understand that that fetus that's growing in the cow needs to have those minerals as well, and depriving them of that because it just doesn't work on the farm. We need to understand that there could be some consequences. Prevention is better than cure, and same thing applies once the calves hit the ground, or the young stock, and sheep, goats, horses, you know, all of the different animals that we're dealing with on farm. It's not just cattle, of course, that they need access to those minerals.
Gerhard, you just mentioned at a certain time of calving or pre-calving, one of the popular things that farmers did do was give their cows vinegar a couple of weeks before calving, because they found the calving was much easier. They didn't have problems with calving, and yeah, so having vinegar or things like that available, as at the Wallaces had done, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, in more recent times, I've actually been in a situation where I've been able to monitor the diatomaceous earth uptake of some calves as well. And I thought, oh, I'll put a little bit of DE out there with the other ingredients. It was the dolomite and the sulfur and the copper. And the DE just got hammered. Now, try and understand what calcium silicate does actually to the animals, or what it does for them. It can be anyone's guess. But again, you know, it's about taking those ingredients and offering them and seeing what we can learn from it, and then maybe reading into that there are some deficiencies in the paddock that can't be picked up. So offering the free choice minerals actually gives us an opportunity to remineralize the pastures or the paddocks via the gut of the cow or the gut of the animal that we're grazing. So it's another, you know, way of, in the long term, of building fertility back out there in the paddock.
Thank you. And just back to the question, the third question said his relate to beef. Are there some base indications of how much mineral is required per head per year? Well, that's how long is a piece of string, really. It depends on your property. Everyone's different. So I hope
And
that
every season's different too.
But you monitor the level in the containers, and naturally you top them up.
Yeah. Some people have bins out there and they're hardly ever touched, but they're there, and when they need it, they use it. Now, Frank, you have raised your hand. If you'd like to unmute.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm here in the northern part of Tasmania, in the Tamar Valley. Unfortunately, I only just came in when that very question popped up about biochar. It wasn't planned like that. I had intended to be there earlier, and I had a phone call come in. I had to take that. So, from a background point of view, I'm a master forester. Was trained in Germany a long time ago in the late 70s and 80s. We moved as a family to Tasmania in 1987. And so my whole work has been around holistic management of forests, landscapes, and water catchments. So my son, who was 2 years old when we moved here, he's just about 38 now. He owns about 400 acres of farm now, 450 acres or so. Some of it is bush. He's got 130 mother cows, Angus and Herefords, about 130 boar goats running there as well. And we very much look at that regenerative, restorative, and renovative catchment management. And so only on Friday did he send me a photo onto my phone. The manure, these are free-ranging cattle that get mob grazed strategically. They're rotated every day or every second day, depending on the time of year. And he allowed them access to char that he makes with his biochar kiln on the farm itself. And the Thursday manure in the grass was brown and the Friday manure was black. And it looked much more solid. So obviously the absorption of moisture is one thing. But in Western Australia, there is a farmer called Doug Poe, and he's been using feed char since 2012. He spoke to Achim Gerlach, Dr. Achim Gerlach, a German veterinarian. Prior to doing that, he wanted to find a way to spread the biochar for free over his paddocks. And so you will find very short, sharp videos. And Doug has been a keynote speaker at a number of conferences over the years. The Western Australian Biochar Network by Cassie Dawson in Manjimup, Western Australia, they have done a lot of work on dung beetle. So the interaction between the cows or the livestock, the above ground effects and then below ground effects. So it is very important to understand these multiple effects. But just basically, what is biochar? It's a sponge that doesn't rot. It's an incredibly porous material that can be clean if it's made from clean woody biomass. That can be anything from raspberry canes to blackberry scrub to gauze invasive weeds.
Frank, sorry, we're wanting questions. I would like you to send me the link that you're talking about. It's very, very interesting, and we could actually have another webinar just on this, but I really appreciate your contribution. That's fantastic, really great. And it's true that having any animal eat what you want spread out in the paddock, native grass seeds right through to things like biochar, is a brilliant way of getting things done for you without much
As
further
well, the cookhouse. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, Gerhard, we're going to stop here and just look at the feeders because we are getting out to time, and I want to move on to looking at the different type of feeders. Now, these are from you, from your free mineral choice feeders. Gerhard has a lot of information on his website. We're going to give you this link. Come back to the replay. Bella will have it in the chat for you. But it's just a very quick look at the different type of feeders that people have got. And Andy Ibbott actually, he rebuilt his, it was too heavy, he can pull it out. He made it much lighter so his mother can pull it out and cars and move it around. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get feeders out there. And yes, horses also, sheep, any animal really. So what I'm wanting to do, because we're getting near the hour, I'd like to go to our offer we have today, and then we'll come back. If you want to stay on, come back to questions. But I'll take the opportunity to thank everyone for being here. So if we look at the first slide here, we recommend these videos. Now today, you saw Peter and Wendy Wallace, and you saw the selected stock supplements. You saw probably 15 minutes from each of those DVDs. They go for 2 hours. So there's an awful lot more in them. And Pat Colby, who started this whole idea of having animals self-select, we have a DVD on her too. But what I want to go to is a very exciting offer. And this is this one here. And no, I can't change it to whole screen, so we'll just stick with that. This is a video kit with the DVDs we've had today, but a whole lot more. So we'll just have a quick look at it. And it's on our Soil Learning Centre. And if you're serious about cutting costs and keeping healthy animals, this is where you need to go. And it will come through. I apologise for my computer. It'll come.
I don't apologise for my computer.
So this is a kit we put together last year when there was a threat of foot and mouth disease. And we thought, well, let's get all our things about stock together. We haven't quite included them all. There's a huge package on Jerry Brunetti, but at the moment, this is the kit. And it goes through what you will learn with it. This is all on the Soil Learning Centre. That's the message that Hugo made for everyone about foot and mouth disease. In this particular kit is Pat Colby, the stock supplements. Then there's Fred Prevents of it, 5 DVDs. Fred is very well known for his animal nutrition. Jean is the homeopath who Andy mentioned. Her treatments are cents in the dollar, cents in the whatever per animal. Peter and Wendy, who we saw today. Tim Wright, who's a well-known farmer featured in Soils for Life. Gabe Brown, there are 3 of his DVDs. David Marsh, who talks about his whole balance system. We also get the Agricultural Testament, which is a PDF, and that stock lick recipe, which we will make available to everyone. But just to let you know, it was $5.97, which is still awfully cheap. Today it is $2.97. I'm not quite sure how we make it available. I'm hoping that we can put it in the chat so that if you would like that kit, it really is extremely comprehensive. So now I've got to go and get back to this stock supplement PowerPoint. Okay. So if you know that you are interested and you can't get onto purchasing this, just drop us a line and we'll get it out to you. But it will be in the replay too. So this is that. It's an excellent kit for farmers who want to build resilience to diseases and on their farms. It includes all the information you will need to get your farm prepared. It's an essential tool, we believe, for any farmer who wants to protect their investment and ensure their livelihood, like Andy Abbott lost 14 cows. So if you're losing animals or you're challenged with health, please get this kit. I'll just run through it again. So we've got, that's what it's called, Livestock Disease Resilient Kit, which we put together to help farmers. And if you get online and go to this link on Soil Learning Centre and search animal health, it's the Animal Livestock Disease Resilience Kit. And once again, these are the products in it. Pat Colby, who's a gem, and you see her teaching, you see her talking to farmers, and she tells how she got to understand that she was an absolute pioneer in this area, and she got ridiculed a huge amount, but she stuck with the guns and did a lot of phone consultations and well remembered. Then the DVD, we've been showing you the supplements from, which it's also, there's featured in it Gerhard, Neil Prentice, Andy Abbott, Peter Armstrong. There's Mark Boyd and Judy Hill, you didn't see her, Terry and Glenn George, and Greg Mortlock. So there's extra things as well. That's a 2-hour video in itself. It is just, I think, amazing. So then we've got Fred Provenza, and he's, yes,
he's inspirational.
This is his DVD set, and you've got, you can see that, 3 DVDs in here. The total running is, should be on here, 365 minutes.
You're talking about DVDs, this would be in a
It'll be a download, yes, immediately, but you can download it. The homeopath, Jane Bilstead, she's with Ron and Bev Smith, and they're very, very early pioneers in this organic movement. In fact, they started the organic movement. True Organics, Peter and Wendy, Tim Wright, Gabe Brown, and there's 3 of Gabe Brown's in the kit, and David Marsh, plus the download. So I can only encourage you to get it, and it will go back up in price. We'll hold it while we're promoting this webinar replay, but then it'll go back to its normal price. So we can go back to questions now. And Bella, have you put any, I'm just wondering if Bella's put anything in the chat for us. With any more information? No. So back to questions, and maybe if you farewell people, and then people can go if they want to, and others can stay. We'll stay online to answer the rest of the questions. So yeah, we've got a couple more messages coming in. Right. Okay, so she has put a link in the chat here. Or that's the stock supplement, the separate. If you just want to buy that, it's $97. Frank has shared his chart line, which thank you very, very much, Frank. That's fabulous. So open your chat if you want to take these down. It'll be in your chat. And that's another one. And this is Gerhard's link to the feeders, but it also goes through to Gerhard's website. So let's just open that up too. Saying there's not another question sitting there at the moment. Okay. So this is on web, Gerhard, this is your site.
Yep.
And he kindly gave us a lot of photos for our feeders. And if you scroll down, you can link them with them. He also sells books on the Pat Colby has written. There's a couple of them. And then if we go down, he's got a bit about himself, but there's a lot of information. Gerhard's been working in this area for a really long time. So I would encourage you to look at his link. And I also have found some more photos of let's put this on through this. We'll go back to Q&A. Where are the photos? Oh, I'm going to make these accessible too, because maybe do we need to go? I don't know how to. I'm just hoping you can see these. Maybe we'll just put them up online, but there's so many. I mean, some of you might have some photos there that you can send in and share, and we can start a little chat. But these are other ones. We got photos in from people. Once they'd set up their mineral leaks, we had a bit of a competition at one stage, and people sent in the way they'd set up their feeders. So as you can see, there's all sorts of ways. This is Neil Prentice's, and it's a bit of a close-up. And on the back of this one, he's got a list of what's in the bins, so he knows what he's filling up each time. That's up behind the bins, actually, he puts out. And this was another farm we didn't see today. We went to visit him, and he put up feeders, some on a fence, some out in the paddock. So we can make them available too. So back to questions. Anyone want to raise their hand or join us?
Well, I'll just say something that with the stock supplementation, it's extremely cheap. It makes animals very healthy. The animals eat less paddock food, and basically it takes away stress from the animals and takes the stress away from the farmer, and increases increases profitability very easily. So maybe Gerhard, you might like to say something too to reinforce what we've been talking about.
Well, it's the only comment that I'd like to make is that prevention is always better than cure, and prevention's usually a lot cheaper than the cure as well, especially when you've got anxiety levels and stress sort of factored in there as well. And to hear that someone like Andy losing 14 animals through, what was it, milk fever, I think, wasn't it? That's really difficult when you're the custodian of livestock, that we try to do the best for them, but we don't realise that the best is actually offering a suite of different foods and minerals that we need to grow and to live on. So yeah. Animal nutrition, as much as we tend to focus on the symptom, we need to go back to the cause. And the cause usually is a diet restriction of some sort, or some weather conditions, or some stress periods that we all go through as living organisms, that sorts out the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't sort of say much more apart from the fact that it's in our hands, each as custodians of animals and farmers and land managers, that we need to have a better understanding of what it is that we're working with, and that includes soil health. Now, if we don't have good, healthy soils, we can't have good healthy plants or animals and then people, of course. So it is sort of a round circle arrangement that we need to look at and come back to.
Pointed out, when the animals are getting their stock supplements, they're obviously getting things that are lacking in the soil, so it gets circulated. And we do know people who've just used stock supplementation to balance their soil. We just have a question here from Bruce. Oh no, I don't know who it is. BM. I don't have a DVD player anymore, but will be interested in digital resources by download. That is what you will get in this pack. It is digital. We do still have some DVDs here. We certainly have. We were very optimistic. We have a lot of Pat Colby DVDs, and so we have those. We were going to make an offer, and I've run out of time to provide them. For anyone who buys that pack, who's in Australia, can have a free Pat Colby DVD, like a real one. Not you get it anyway, but if you would like the DVD as well, we'd be delighted to send it to you. And Della has put these things in the chat. There's new things in the chat. The books, the Pat, there's only 3 there, and some of them are quite hard to get now. She's put in the link for Gerhard with what we have in there about Gerhard. He is a consultant, and he'd love to, he's terrific. He just loves driving around helping people. So please check that link. A discount you get with a subscription. If you're a member, you get a 30% discount on products. Well, worth becoming a member. Anyone interested in explore our work in Tasmania, this is from Frank. Feel free to visit our website, terrapretodevelopments.com.au products, and this one. So they're all in the chat. So while you're here, open your chat and take the information you need. So we just answered that one. To become a member, you go to, it's on the thing here. Oh, Carmen. Oh, Carmen used to buy the Bartek. Hi. This is her feeder. That looks great. Looks a bit like a gypsy van. It's simple, really, isn't it? It's great. Thank you. We have back rubs on it. Oh, Carmen, did you want to say anything? You want to open your microphone and just...
Yes, it's me here. We used to grow sugarcane. We're in far north Queensland, and we started a few years ago in cattle, and we farm organic. We're not certified, but yeah, we use salts and different supplements. And when you were talking about the copper, I tried the Pat Colby mix and copper, and I put the we had striped dolomite and copper and dolomite, and our cattle weren't touching the copper and dolomite. And I checked what weeds we have, and we have a weed, sensitive weed, Mimosa pudica, and it's an indicator for when you have enough or too much copper in your soils. So yeah, you sort of learn when you sometimes look at the weeds you've got, they tell you if you already have enough certain minerals in it. And really what the cattle went for, it showed me, yeah, they don't need the copper. So we stopped supplementing with copper. Then I even got lick blocks sometimes with copper, and it was no, we don't touch that. And I tried already sometimes bentonite clay, and they really honed in on the bentonite clay. And it was, we had some like our styler, which is a tropical lucerne, and it was in flower. And when it's going in flower, the toxins, when they eat too much to protect the plant, it puts out toxins. And yeah, the cattle, they just cleaned up all the bentonite clay that was in there in a really, really short time. And once they didn't have the access to that plant anymore, they stopped. So yeah, I learned to go with the seasons, different pastures. they require different minerals. It's not always the same. Different times of the year, they will eat all different minerals.
Carmen, thank you very, very much. That's
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
Thank
What
you.
What I like seeing is these trolleys or whatever you call them that can be easily towed around by sort of a lightish type of vehicle. And I like seeing how farmers have improvised these trolleys. And to me, the rougher the better, as long as they kept the product dry.
Yeah.
Yes,
someone
this
called-
works well. My husband did build it. It's starting to rust out, the steel, even that it's galvanized steel. The salt just keeps rusting it out. So
Yeah.
the next one will be from aluminium, I think.
Amazing what you can find to build one up, though. Yeah, someone said I used to call them lolly trolleys. I thought that was rather cute. All right, well, thank you. So anyone else want to has a question? I'm looking to see if anyone else is there. Otherwise, we will. Oh no, there's another one there. So it's a discount. What a wonderful wagon. Oh, comment. There you go, Carmen. What a wonderful. Oh, that's from Gerhard. Thank you. So the question from Rebecca: how do you put out zinc in what form, or and also how do you put out phosphorus out and in what form or ratio? So Gerhard has put an answer in here, Rebecca. Zinc sulfate mix 1 to 10 with salt, as per Wendy and Peter Wallace. Did you want to unmute, Rebecca, and ask anything from the panel? Did you want to unlock?
Can you hear me?
Yep, you can.
Okay. Yeah, so we've got salt flats. So that's why I started with Pat Colby, because they never took, you know, your blocks, because mainly a lot of them were salt based. So the zinc seems to be around that November period they seek it. And I'm wondering how to get it into them besides the seaweed meal.
Well, Gerhard had answered there on the thing, but maybe Gerhard would like to answer that.
So I'm not clear what you're asking there, Rebecca, in the context of the salt flats, and they don't tend to go for salt, question mark. You're saying that they don't go for salt, or you don't really know if they do or not?
Well, they can have the rock, you know, the
Rock salt.
Himalayan rock salt.
Yeah.
But it's that mix with the salt. Do you have to put the zinc sulfate mixed with the salt?
It's probably one way of regulating it, but I mean, you can try just the zinc sulfate on its own. I mean, we're doing it with copper sulfate, and that's considered to be a toxin, but that can be put out in its pure form as long as there's some dolomite there. And I guess what I would do is I would still be offering salt, and then the zinc sulfate mixed with it as well, just to dilute it a little bit. The other test would be if they really want the zinc, then they may well go for that for the zinc purposes. If you're mixing it with salt, then, and if they're not taking the other salt in its pure form, then you know that they're actually driving towards the mix of the two to try and get some zinc into their bodies.
Right. Okay. Because is zinc what do you call that metal where it can go either way, negative or positive?
Cation or anion.
Sorry?
Yeah, cation or anion.
Yeah, where if the stomach's acidic, then it will bring the level up. It always seeks neutral. Or
well, your apple cider vinegar will do that, and so will your bicarb of soda. Your bicarb of soda has been offered, as Wendy said, it's been offered there regularly all the time as a precaution, because if you do get a bit of grain or a little bit of an imbalance in the gut, then they've got a choice of licking that to try and bring the rumen pH back to close to neutral again.
Yeah, okay, because that's how I look at zinc a lot, but maybe that's in the wrong context.
One thing that Matt made clear was that, especially when you're feeding out copper on its own, because people with, well, it's a pretty powerful product, she said always have dolomite there, because the dolomite is sort of an antidote if they have too much. And quite often you'd see when the cattle or sheep were licking stuff, there'd be copper at the dolomite trough as well on the surface. So where the animals did try one thing or the other. And the same thing is with zinc. Always have the dolomite, according to Pat Colby, always have the dolomite there as an antidote if they get too much. They self-correct.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And just with the phosphate, like there's something in the racing circles, I think, where they use it might be a bicarb, but there's a 2 to 3 and 1 to 3 carbonate. Are you aware of that one? A carbonate phosphorus or?
Oh, there's a whole host of different compounds out there. I'd just be very clear about, firstly, the cost of them, and secondly, trying to keep them in as much of a raw form as possible. Whereas there's a lot of synthesized products that have been put together there that seem to serve a purpose. But I don't know. I'm just always cautious about some of the so-called value-added products out there, and tend to defer back to what Pat Colby is offering, and that's the basic traditional methods of inputs and using those remedies and preventatives.
Yeah, it is in its raw form, and you mix it yourself into the ratio.
Either you mix it, and the mixing is something that I'm not a big fan of, but sometimes you've got to use that to act as a diluting factor to make sure that the animals don't overdose on it, because some of those trace elements can be applied even to the paddock, but you can actually do damage as well if you put too much out there. And the same thing applies to putting it through the mouth of your animals. And, your zinc and your copper are actually considered to be heavy metals, but we still need them in trace amounts in our body systems for them to function properly, to create enzymes and...
Amphoteric was the word I was looking for before. It's an amphoteric metal, I believe.
Right.
That's what you call it, the zinc. Okay, thank you. Oh, and the biochar, I've just started recently on that, and I'm finding... it might be just over time, or like I found with Pat Colby, it mightn't be the time that they want it, but they don't seem to be willingly
very important
take it at this stage.
And I've had situations where people have gone and got the ingredient from me and put them out there and then said the stock don't want to eat them, and what they're doing is they're feeding the dairy cows out there. But then they said, I can't, I've spent a couple $100 on getting all these ingredients. What do I do with them? We'll give them to your cars. Well, within a week, I got this call to say they've eaten it all. So your young stock very obviously do need those minerals, whereas oftentimes the mature animals, unless they're going through periods of pregnancy or calving and so on, that they actually do need those minerals to support the new life that's coming through.
It depends on the paddock. I've noticed everything. Like you were saying before. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And join in with the Farming Secrets. If you're not a member, join in with the Regen Farming Facebook group, because we do have discussions in there as well. And so we could start a whole discussion on what people are experiencing and sharing feeders and things like that. So I don't have the link for that, but if you go to Facebook, or even if you go into the Soil Learning Centre, which the link's there, you'll find a link to that Facebook group, and it's pretty active. So you'll find that is, there we go. It's in your chat now.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
So this is great, and thank you very much.
Mineral licks for teenagers. Good on you, Peter.
What's that? Oh, yes.
Very good.
Well, actually, it wouldn't hurt. Might keep that on in the pantry a bit.
But yeah, that warning that Carmen's put out there about the monodicalcium phosphate, yeah, we do need to be careful with what we put out there. There's no question. And again, I would defer to Pat Colby's books and say, okay, what can we learn from her research and her experience as well, before going down a pathway too far and finding that you haven't got the result that you're aiming for. So I don't profess to have all the answers, and I'm sure as we get on in life, we realise that the less, the more we know, the less we know. Something like that.
How true. Yeah, so there we are. And for people who've just joined us, we do have a special offer today, and I would really urge you to check it out. You can spend a lot of time on the website reading about it, having a look. There's heaps and heaps of clips on that website in the kit itself. I'll just open up that link on the Soul Learning Centre. I mean, gosh, $2.97 is ridiculous, really.
Well, the amount of money you save.
It's just fantastic kit.
Save in dollars, increase profitability and reduce your stress in running the farm.
We've been great believers in providing the animals. They do know, and Fred had some terrific examples at the Starte conference of a horse coming up and having 2 different types of hay, and it tried in one bin, and then it put its head in the next bin, and then it went back the other bin, and then the other bin, and then eventually it said, oh no, this is the one I like. That's how fine-tuned they are to nutrition. So maybe if you're putting out a mixed lick, that's going to be a problem, because you won't actually give the animal an opportunity to just get what they want, instead of getting a whole lot of other stuff. Probably like the teenagers getting all the green stuff that they need. If they had nothing else on their plate, they'd eat the green stuff, which is probably better for them than a lot of other junk, if that's sort of clear. All right, well, look, they're available for you to go and have a really good check out, because you can then go to each product, and each product has its own little space on the website. That's on the soullearning.com, and we'll leave you with that. It's what's $5.97, should have been thousands.
It was over $1,000.
Well, so much of product anyway is in it. Yeah, it's already a bargain. $5.97. So hop onto it if you're serious about having an easy farming and cheaper farming and healthier farming and more profitable farming. Yeah. So, Gerhard?
Thank you very much, Helen and Hugo, and the people who have logged in and persevered with us. The irony of all that is that we actually spent an hour and a half or something yesterday rehearsing all this, and the technical glitches still came in and messed things up. So I feel for you, Helen, and thank you for putting it together in the way that you managed to finally get it happening for us.
I think I need to invest in a new computer. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone who's still on the call, and everyone who has been on the call, and hello to everyone who will listen to the replay. And please send your questions in to us if you want to get into touch with us. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Gerhard, and thank you so much for coming online, and Bella for your support.
Thank you too, and thank you to all those. And I like Peter Mack's sense of humour. Very good. Good on you, Pete. See ya.
Yes, thank you. Oh dear.